the next day, swiping through again, he pops up again. So I screenshot it this time and I sent it to him like, are you sure you're not in Vietnam? Like, you've popped up twice now. And he's like, what are your settings set to? I'm like, desperate, very, very desperate.
I'm Emily Calloway, and this is Kismet. Kismet is a podcast featuring your true love stories. Today, I'm speaking with Jenny Fairhurst, who proves the point that timing in love really is a thing. Buckle up. This is a good one, y'all.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you so much for joining me on Kismet today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I know you've been doing a lot of traveling the last few weeks. So are you in California right now, or where are you right now?
No, I'm actually back home in Vancouver. So I'm here for a few more days and then traveling back to California. And then
and you're going to Portugal, right?
Yeah, we're going to Portugal. So for a couple months, and we're kind of splitting our time between Canada, the US, and
Awesome.
Europe.
Well, I just got back from Portugal. It was the most lovely vacation. So I'm super jealous that you're going to be making that move there soon. So, but I thank you so much for fitting me in. You know, I know this has been sort of a long conversation in coming, but I just, your story is exactly the type of story that I like to highlight at Kismet. Just the story of like sort of following your passions, following the travel and whimsy and being open to taking risks. And so without further ado, I'd love for you to just get started by telling us a little bit about yourself, your journey separate from your partner, just who you are, what you're interested in, just sort of where you are in life.
Yeah. So I'm from Vancouver, like I just said, and I was born and raised here. And for my first year university, I went to Calgary to do business school and went back for my second year, and it snowed in September. And I thought, get me the hell out of here. Like, no, thank you. So I ended up moving back to Vancouver. I did 2 more years of community college, and then I transferred over to Australia to follow the warm weather and finish my business degree over there in Melbourne. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm a passionate traveler. I've traveled to 70 plus countries, and that's my biggest passion. I've been a travel agent for 15 years. Before that, I worked in law. So that was definitely a big change.
So let's get into the good stuff now. So talk to me about the lead up to meeting your partner. How did this happen? Like, where were you sort of on your journey when you met him? And all the details.
Yeah, so I was living in Melbourne at the time, and I don't even think I was engaged to my ex-husband yet, but he was living there with me. He was working, and he decided for Canada Day to book us a weekend away on the Whitsunday Islands. So we did like a 3-night cruise on this like beautiful sailboat. And when we got there, it was like a whole group of like friends and family, and then it was just my ex-husband and I. And we ended up, my now husband was on the boat with his ex-wife and his family members, like his brother and sister-in-law and a couple other friends. We did like the 3 days. We all got on super well. And he lived in Sydney. So we used to go up, we'd drive up from Melbourne to Sydney, stay with him and his ex-wife. Nothing was ever like weird. It was always very platonic. We were great friends, all of us. I met his dad, his stepmom, like they came down to Melbourne to visit. So that whole year I was there, we kind of just went back and forth and became really good, close friends. And him and I always had such a great relationship as well. But he was invited to my first wedding, which he didn't end up attending just because it was in Vancouver. But his brother-in-law and his brother and sister-in-law, they honeymooned at my house in Vancouver with my husband and I. But it was just like it took us like 10 years to kind of get to where we are today. But yeah, we just kind of developed a really great friendship. And our saying was when in Rome. So all over the world, like, thankfully Facebook existed. Every time I saw something that said when in Rome, I'd take a picture, I'd send it to him on Facebook, and he did the same to me. So we kind of kept in touch that way.
So was he Australian, or where was he from?
He's from England.
So you are Canadian. You're there with your then fiance. who I guess is probably Canadian as well, in Australia. And then you meet this British guy, and he's there with his wife and family, and you're all on this boat together, just happenstance. And then from there, develop this friendship because you've been on a boat together, and that things get pretty intimate there, right? So you have this friendship going over the years. And so, not to touch too much on your past relationship, but obviously that didn't last forever. So,
No.
so, and obviously his didn't either. So, so there obviously, there was a friendship established. There was sort of a relationship, a camaraderie. But how did things progress from that point? And that's from what you told me about the story to begin with. That's where the magic really happens here. So go into that story and talk to us a little bit about how friendship went to romance, and all the twists and turns along the way.
Right. So, I mean, the biggest twist, I think, for me was I always thought my ex-husband and I thought he was gay. So, we, every time we left Sydney, we'd be like, I think he's gay. Like, he just, very metro, he had I don't know. It was just something about him. It was just like very comfortable with himself. And I shouldn't think that, but someone had also taken over his Facebook and was like, thank you guys letting me come out. It's been amazing. There was 300 comments under it. So I just assumed he was gay. Now we're getting to like where we kind of re-met. I got divorced in May of 2014, and he ended up moving from Sydney, Australia to San Francisco. I'm like, well, that fits the, he's going from one, to the gayest city in the world. That makes sense. We reconnected, and he's like, oh, moving there. He's like, come visit. I'm like, great. We'll have like, in my head, we're going to have a girls' weekend, like have so much fun, like go out dancing. Turns out he wasn't gay. And so we kind of like started our romance there in 2014 and had a great time. I ended up extending my trip in San Francisco. And then we started dating a little bit. And he came up to Vancouver, but he was always supposed to go back to Australia. He was just doing a 6-month maternity leave in San Francisco. And we just thought, we're such good friends. I'm like newly separated. He's doing 6 months in San Francisco. Let's just like end it and, stay friends. Because I'm like, I don't want to fall in love with you. I can't move to
So
Australia.
this 6 months maternity leave, so he's covering, I'm assuming that means he's covering for somebody that's on maternity leave. So he's not on paternity leave. He doesn't have kids or anything. No, he's covering for somebody that's on maternity leave. Okay.
Yeah, he worked for Google in Australia, and then they flew him to San Francisco to work for the head office.
Well, that's fun.
He was just,
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, it was great. So, but yeah, when he was only there for 6 months, we thought, let's just keep our friendship. We have, and just end it. So, that kind of ended that in 2014. And then in 2017, one of my girlfriends and I, we were backpacking through Vietnam, and it's New Year's Eve or a few days before, and we're in this little town. We're like, let's go on Bumble and start seeing if there's any like Westerners that want to hang out, not to date, but just to, have a New Year's Eve party. So we're swiping away, and all of a sudden my husband, or Daryl, pops up. That's his name. And I'm like, wow, he's in Vietnam right now. My settings are set to like 2 miles or 5 kilometers, like pretty small. And so I swipe right. We're not a match. So I Facebook him, and it's like, whoa, I'm like, are you in Vietnam right now? He's like, no, I'm in San Francisco still. Like, I ended up staying. I didn't just do that 6-month mat leave. I like fully, I'm fully living here for the last 3 years. So I'm like, okay. So that was the end of that conversation. Next day, swiping through again, he pops up again. So I screenshot it this time, and I sent it to him like, are you sure you're not in Vietnam? Like, you've popped up twice now. And he's like, what are your settings set to? I'm like, desperate, very, very desperate.
Oh my gosh.
So he's like, oh my God, that's so weird. I told him it was like, 2 miles or 5 kilometers. And he's like, that's just so weird that we would connect. And he's like, did you fly through San Francisco? I'm like, no, I didn't even like route through there. So he's like, well, and my parents live in Palm Springs half the year. So he's like, well, why don't you come visit? And I'm like, well, I'll be there in 3 weeks. I can just like divert my flight from Palm Springs to San Francisco and come
So what were you
visit.
thinking at this point? So you had this like sort of short little romance before, and you'd been friends as well. Like, were you, was he somebody that you thought about over the years since that period? Or was it just kind of like, he's a friend, like yeah, it'd be nice to see him, we'll see what happens. But I'm just curious if he was somebody that always held that sort of spot in your heart.
Yeah, I mean, I lived with a guy before him, like after my ex-husband, and the day we broke up, I called Daryl to like talk to him about it, like not my girlfriends. I called him for some reason and hadn't spoken to him in like 2 years, and we kind of talked again, and then that was it. So we would randomly talk once in a while, but I think when he invited me back, like I know I was going to get my nails done, so I obviously care.
Yeah. If you book that nail appointment, that means it's
Yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to see where this
yeah.
goes, and maybe he just thought it was friends. So, but yeah, I definitely was like, oh, I wonder if like it's been enough time since like I'm definitely over my past stuff. He's not moving back to Australia. He's told me he's there for good. So, is this something? It goes through your head. It's like I was looking. I'm always a hopeless
hmm
romantic, so I always want to find my partner, like my person or my partner. And
Okay, so you went to your parents' Palm Springs and then you diverted your flight.
I met him right outside his apartment at this little bar we always meet at. And within like 5 minutes, I was like, I'm gonna marry this
Oh.
guy. Like I just had this feeling. I was like, oh my god, like it was. He's so easy. Like everything with him is just so easy. I can be authentically me, and it doesn't matter how dumb I am, or I can just be silly and not have to worry about judgment at all. And that's what I love so much about him, is he loves me for every part of me. But that first few minutes was like, oh no, this is like, what do I
Mm,
do? Like, I go in for a kiss? Like, no, we need some drinks. We
yeah.
need drinks. So yeah, we went out for dinner with some friends, and then he's like, let's go dancing. And we were like, okay, this is like, let's go for it. Let's just make it work, or like, let's try it out and see if that's something we want to do. So yeah, I stayed there for a couple days, and then every 2 weeks he'd either fly to me or I'd fly down to him and stay the weekend. And my schedule is super flexible, and we go down to his place. I go down to San Francisco a lot, and we kind of went back and forth for 4 months, and so we went on like 8 dates. And then he's like, "Well, why don't you move here?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay." Like I'm very
Yeah.
impulsive, so let's do it. Okay, like worst thing that happens is we break up and I
Right.
go home. At least I give it a go. So I ended up quitting my job as a travel agent, but I went to the one last like global party they had in Berlin. So I moved from Vancouver to San Francisco via Berlin,
Amazing.
which is not not the shortest route. But yeah, when we got there, we lived together for one night. We got engaged,
After one night?
which was
Oh my
after one
gosh.
day
So I got
he
to
proposed.
hear this part of the story. So you're there for one day. He proposes. First of all, what's going through your mind? Second of all, how did he do it? He had obviously pre-planned this, or was it just like, oh my God, I'm in the moment, like, blah, will you marry me?
It was definitely a moment thing. Definitely. Like there was
Yeah.
no ring, but we were at his favorite dive bar and sitting at the bar, and he just looked at me, he's like, "You want to get married?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And he's like, "No, actually, like, do you want to get married?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do want to get married." He's like, "I just want you to know when we walk out of this bar, we're engaged. So one more time, are you sure you want to get married?" I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "Really? Yeah, I do. Like, let's just do it."
Wow.
So we were engaged for 7 weeks and then ended up getting married. We were going to get married a year and a bit
hmm
later, but he was doing his green card as well. So we kind of had to shotgun the
hmm
engagement. And because if he got his green card before we got married, it could have been like a 7-year process to get
Oh,
me in the country.
uh-huh.
So we're like, let's just do it. And then I can go under his green card, and then we could legally live
Yeah.
together. So, because I was supposed to do like almost like a 6 month in the country and 6 months
Yeah.
out.
Did you do like a courthouse wedding?
Yeah, because we've both been
Yeah.
married, and we're like, oh, maybe we'll get married in Greece with all our families. And then we're like, "Ugh, let's just like we'll do a ceremony later. And then we had the best day, and we're like, oh, who cares? Like we don't need to spend another 20,
Yeah.
30,000 on a wedding. Let's just
Yeah. So what did your families think? I guess his family already knew you, right? So they were probably like,
yeah. Well, his dad, when we first met, his dad's like, Daryl, you gotta marry someone like Jenny. You gotta marry someone like her. And he's like, Dad, I am married. So he was like, when he found out we were dating in 2014, he was over the
yeah,
moon. And then when he found out we broke up, he was upset. And then we got back together. He's like, I knew it. You guys should have just listened to me from the beginning. In 2008, you could have cut out this 10-year
yeah.
thing, but I mean, timing's everything. So yeah, I mean, his dad and I are like besties, and we travel all over the world together. So yeah, it's been very easy, like integration into the family.
What a
So
blessing that you had that sort of entry in that friendship for so many years before. That's a very unique situation, especially with how fast
yeah,
things moved later on, that you already had that sort of familiarity and everything.
yeah, absolutely. And my dad was like, "Oh, just take her. Like we want to get rid of her.
Oh my God. Yeah.
She's your
Yeah.
problem."
Oh my God. I'm sure my mom would say the same thing.
Yeah.
um, so this was 2017-ish. So
2018 is when
okay.
we got married.
So what have you been up to since then? Obviously, you said you're about to move, but yeah, what have you been up to since then?
We moved from San Francisco. We bought a house in a town called
Mm-hmm.
Pleasanton, which is like the East Bay area, about 45 minutes away in wine country. And we had a great life there. We loved it. And then my husband was laid off his job. And so he was like, I'm going to take a year off. He got a year payout. So I'm like, yeah, go back to England, do whatever you want to do. Make sure you're doing stuff like go golfing, like,
Mm-hmm.
have fun, like don't waste the year. Obviously, he didn't do that. So coming after like up to that year, I've said to him like, well, I could take a year off and you could take another year off and we can just go travel the
Yeah.
world. He's like, yeah, let's do that. So we did 5 months in Asia to start, and then we came home for 6 weeks. And his dad and stepmom came to stay with us for the entire
Oh,
6 weeks.
wow.
Like they stayed longer than I was there. Like they arrived the same day
Mm-hmm.
we did. So we had no like downtime. And he's like, his dad one night was like, why are you guys in this huge house?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you're not here for your job anymore. You've met great friends, but it's like, what is keeping you here? Like, why don't you sell it and, either downsize or move somewhere? And I've been telling him for years, I'm like, well, for two
Yeah.
years, I said, let's just move, like, let's retire, let's go traveling, let's just like live our lives. And like, we don't have kids, we don't have animals. Um, so he's like, yeah, let's do it. So as soon as he told me like, let's do it, I called our realtor. I'm like, okay, I'm holding him accountable. He can't back out now.
Amazing.
So we ended up going to Europe for 5 more months, came home, and then put our house on the market a couple months later. And now we've sold everything we own except for one car and our clothes. And yeah, we're about to start traveling the world and spend like 3 or 4 months in Vancouver every year, a couple months in California, and then Europe for 4 or 5
What an
months. So
adventure. Y-
yeah, so that's kind of our plan now. Things change
Yeah.
daily,
I
but
mean, one of the
yeah,
things that I've learned just over, I mean, really the last couple of years, but do it while you're healthy. Do it while you have that ability. Don't wait for retirement because retirement doesn't happen for everyone. Unfortunately, like health and taking care of loved ones and things like that, there's a lot of things that come up. So while you're able and like healthy and everyone else is healthy, do it. Like I fully
exactly.
stand that decision.
Yeah, and I mean, my parents travel a lot. His parents
Hmm.
travel a lot. We all travel together,
That's
so we're
awesome.
like, well, you're in retirement now. Now it's time to come along with us and we'll be your tour guides and we'll take you to fun
Yeah.
places.
So you mentioned earlier that this relationship with him, that it was always like easy. So a couple things that I sort
Mhm.
of want to touch on. One, like what made this, was it just the easiness or what made this different than past relationships that you've had? Like what made him and your union different?
I don't know if it was like just being maybe a little bit more mature and like my ex-husband and I, we were still in
Mm-hmm.
school. So like maybe money issues or, being more reactive then versus being like, okay, someone's saying something, like take a minute instead
Yeah.
of, reacting impulsively. So I was like, okay, I'm going to really try and like not do that anymore. So, I mean, we don't fight about
Yeah.
anything except for when like someone's driving, but
Fair.
so we just
Yeah.
don't fight. And that's like, it's super rare and weird, but I mean, we spend like 24 hours a day together, which is
Mm.
also probably not healthy, but we just have a great time. Like, it's like living and being married to my best friend. And it's just an easy
Yeah.
relationship, which I always hear people say, no, it's so hard. You got to work on relationships. And I just don't feel like I'm waiting for that to
Mm-hmm.
happen. Like, when do we have to start working on it? But we also don't have kids. We don't work anymore. So our lives are very
Yeah.
easy, anyways. So,
Yeah.
where I see people with kids and like young families, and it's
Mm-hmm.
hard. So, I think that's probably taken like the major stresses out of our
Mm-hmm.
life is, the things that young couples worry about or like have to
Yeah.
stress about and, careers and putting their careers first and making, different schedules where our schedule is just the two of us
Yeah.
always.
Well, I think
So,
also the fact that you both had been married and had these relationships. And I think that also
yeah.
just sort of simplifies like, you know, this is
Mhm.
what's important going forward. This is what I want going forward. So let's go back to 2008 when you met. So we talked about in 2014 when you dated that first time and how like you did have an inkling that like he was somebody that you still were invested in. When you first met him,
Yeah.
when you were married, 2008, you see him for the first
Mhm.
time, you're on this boat together. Was it just like, was there any initial spark there at that point? Or was it just like, oh, he's a cool guy. Like, you know,
I think it was just he's someone I really looked up to. He had a very successful career. Him and his ex-wife did as well. And they were very much established in their lives where he was just like a few years older than
hmm
us, like me and my ex. I just thought, wow, it's like, I'd love to have a life like them. They live on the beach in Melbourne and or in Sydney. And I just thought like, I was just really impressed with, like, how far they had come in such, like for being so
hmm
young, and I don't think I ever, like, thought anything of it because he was obviously married, and I think I was just getting
hmm
engaged, so it was, like, kind of the height of all that stuff, so but he was definitely someone I looked up to as, like, that's a really great
yeah,
man, and that's who I hope, like, my husband's gonna be like if, like, career-wise, and he was just fun. Like, he's a fun, outgoing, like, very loving person that has a lot of interests and
yeah,
hobbies, and I just thought we're all really, like,
yeah.
different, like, from most people I know, so but, yeah, I mean, as a romantic thing,
hmm
no.
I think that's interesting. And I think that's important for us all to remember too, is that like timing does change and like things change and circumstances
100%.
change. So that even though you met
Yeah,
him and you were both in different places in life and you weren't looking at each other this way, like at that point, you were fully committed to your fiance, he was committed to his wife. And it was just a friendship. And that didn't mean that years later you guys wouldn't have those sparks when circumstances and timing were different.
I think timing is such a huge thing, like, where you are in your life, if you're not emotionally ready or you've just got out of a big relationship and you're heartbroken, you're not open to, you know, fully open into another
Y-
relationship yet. Like,
Absolutely. And also, I mean, what a plus to have his dad, because first of all, his dad was your number one fan from the beginning. And then the dad's like, sell your stuff, go travel the world, like planting these
Yeah,
seeds. I'm like,
I
he's like the wise
know.
Yoda. Like, it's like,
Exactly. I'm like, oh, I just need to go to him when I want stuff done. Like, I'll just plant the seed
yes,
in him, tell
yes.
Daryl this.
He sounds like I mean, he truly
So,
sounds like a really cool guy to have in your court.
yeah, more of a friend than a father.
That's awesome. So, this is something I always ask is like, what is your advice to singles out there who have not yet found their person? What would be the advice that you would share with them?
So I am a huge yes person. I think you should just say yes to
Yeah.
everything within reason. But I just think go on the date, give that person another try. Like, who knows where they were in their life, or, second chances or third chances. Like, if they were a good person, maybe you weren't in that right space at the same time. And, you just never know. And like meeting people abroad, like it's definitely more difficult than, meeting someone in your hometown, but it doesn't mean it won't work. Like, you can make it work. If it feels right, just go for it. Leave out all the noise. Like, parents and friends that say, oh, you're rushing things, or, oh, it's a vacation romance. Like, that's not always it. I know a lot of people that have met
Hmm.
abroad and are married with kids. So it's, not the most likely, but it happens. So I just think saying yes, and like you said, like take the trip, go on the date, like go out with your friends. Like, you just don't know where you're going to meet that person, and be
Yeah.
open. So, and I feel a big thing is like get off your phone.
Yes. Yes.
Like, you go to a bar or you go to a restaurant, it's like everyone's scrolling. Like, how do you meet
Hmm.
people now? Like, it's not very friendly. So like get off your phone and be present. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I do think I do think like a specific Kismet moment for the two of you though was just it does involve the phone. The fact that he popped up on your Bumble in Vietnam. Like if
No.
that had not
I know.
happened, I mean, I'm sure you would have circled back around at some point, but
Yeah.
what I mean, maybe he would have been taken at that point, or maybe you would have been taken. And, the fact that it just happened at that right time where you both were single and open to
Totally.
it, and that you had that trip already planned back to California, like it's pretty magical. I wonder how those things happen. I wonder how he popped up on your radar.
No, and
Yeah.
twice too, because I mean, if you didn't left the second time, maybe I would have left the
Yeah.
first
I
time.
wonder, so I mean, had he ever popped up on your Bumble ever before any place in the world?
Never.
Just
That's the first time I'd ever seen him on Bumble.
of all the people in the
Yeah.
world, in all the locations in the world.
Vietnam is like not 5 kilometers.
No, no, that's absolutely wild. That's crazy. So I just love those moments. So I have a few questions that I'm trying something new here. I have a few questions that I'm gonna ask and just kind of like sort of spitfire. So
Yeah.
so first of all, better fictional love story. The Notebook or When Harry Met Sally?
Notebook.
Better first date. Picnic in the park or a swanky speakeasy?
Speakeasy.
Okay. More romantic gesture. A florist arranged bouquet of flowers just because? Or coming home to a clean house after a trip without him?
Clean house. Well, no, he's so clean anyway, so I'm gonna go with flowers. So
um, so love at first sight, real or myth?
real.
And finally, this is sort of, I think, very pertinent to your situation. Do you believe that your love story is fate or luck?
Fate.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those moments like the moment with Vietnam, I think, I mean, there's no other explanation for that in my mind.
Well, so when my friend and I were there, we went to this like Vietnamese ceremony thing where you like buy an incense, you light it, and you make
Hmm.
2 wishes. And it to come true in 7 days. And I was like, I hope I find my husband. And it was like day 6 that he popped
Wow.
up. I was like, I told my friend, I'm like, oh my God, like he just popped up. Like, we've dated before. And she's like, maybe
Yeah.
he's the one. And we were just laughing and like, no, I've been there, done
Mm-hmm.
that. And turns out,
He
like,
was the one.
oh,
I think you inspired some people to
yeah.
go light some incense and make some wishes.
Yeah.
So no joke, I went when I was in Portugal, I was in Madeira, and my housemates where I was staying, they all had the same bracelet, this little bracelet. I was like, oh, I like that bracelet. And they're like, it's a manifest love bracelet. And I was like, tell me where you got it. They did.
I
So
love
now
that.
I have this on that I'm sporting. This is my like bring it to me, But
Yeah.
I think there's a good point to that, sort of with what you were saying about like saying yes and putting putting that wish out there into the universe, whether the universe is listening or not, like whatever you believe in. It's also
Yeah.
the way that you're thinking about things, because it's opening your mind. So when he does come back in, you're like, oh, maybe because I made this wish, maybe this is my person. And it's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
shaping your own openness and receptiveness to things happening and bringing that in,
Definitely. Yeah. I think like we put too much pressure on ourselves as well. Like, turning a certain age, you should be married, or you should have kids, or you should own the house, or you should be in a relationship, or you see your friends in that. Like, it's like, just take the pressure off you, because if we're searching for like ticking the boxes, like that's not necessarily going to
Yeah.
work. Like, just go. I truly believe in marrying your best
Mm-hmm.
friend, because like who you're going to spend most of your time with, and who's going to be there for you when you're happy and sad, and your cheerleader, and your person that's going to pick you up, and and who should put you on a pedestal and put each other
Yeah.
first. So yeah, marrying your best friend is such an important thing, because that's who you're going to spend all your
Yeah.
time with.
Especially, when things get hard, and they do for everyone. And I'm not just talking
Yeah,
about in relationships, just in life. Like when there is
yeah,
financial
right.
struggles, when there is health struggles, when,
Yeah,
bad things happen to people that you love and you're in a down spot, or just all this crap that's going on in the world that affects all of our mental health, having somebody
yeah,
that you can turn to and laugh with and support and know that they aren't
sure.
going anywhere. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I have, through this podcast, one of the things that's changed for me is I'm really not looking anymore. Like I've just sort of like, I have
Yeah,
realized in having all of these conversations with everyone that it's out of my hands to a certain respect.
yeah,
And so I'm just living life and controlling what I can
yeah,
control, being a positive, optimistic person, traveling, doing the things that I
yeah,
love to do. And,
mhm,
when
yeah,
my orbit runs into that person's orbit, then that'll be it. But just trying to,
yeah,
look at somebody on a dating app and just be like, do they check my boxes or whatever? You just don't. It's just senseless.
you don't
No.
know. You can't figure out chemistry over a few messages.
I've honestly never had a relationship that came from an app ever. I've had people like I've dated for a couple months here or there, but honestly,
Mhm.
like the serious long-term relationships I've had have all been people that I've met in real life, that it was just sort of a,
Exactly.
whether it was a friendship first or just a, intense connection, like it just was, there's just something about meeting someone in real life.
Yeah, I know. I went on a lot of bad first dates.
Yeah, well, it's one of the reasons why I do try to steer away from like having app stories on here, because, I do think a lot of people do meet their people on apps, but I think, there are also so many just, I don't know, crushing disappointments that come off of apps. And people that
Yeah,
aren't who
definitely.
they're pretending to be. I just watched
Mhm.
yesterday, I think it was like something like Love Con Revenge or something like that. Oh my God, it was horrible.
With the Tinder
Yes.
swindler?
Oh my gosh. It's
Yeah,
just like,
crazy.
that there are people out there that will lie about things to the extent like that
Mhm.
some of these people, I mean, that guy that lied about like his friend who got killed or not friend, someone that got killed in combat,
Mhm.
proclaiming that was like
Yeah,
his buddy and he was sending him money. I mean, that's diabolical. absolutely diabolical.
Crazy.
So anyway, I'm not saying that everyone in real life is going to be, on the up and up as well, but I do feel like it's easier to get swindled when you meet somebody online.
Yeah,
So,
for
so
sure. Yeah.
anyway, well, I'm so excited
Yeah.
for you and your trip, and I, look forward to sort of living vicariously through all these travels because what an amazing experience you guys are going to have, and all the stories you're going to have. Like, just I'm that's the dream.
That's
Well, thank
sweet.
you so much for joining me today, Jenny. I've really enjoyed our conversation and hearing about your very inspiring and awesome love story. And really excited
Thank
for the next
you.
chapter for the both of you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's
It was
great
great
meeting
meeting you.
you.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Kismet. Please give us a like or subscribe wherever you're listening, as it really does help. If you have your own Kismet story you'd like to share, please send it to me via email at kismetstoriespodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, be bold, be kind, and be open to everyday magic. Your person may be just down the street, or they may be someone known to you that you're destined to re-meet.